The people who need help the most are usually the last ones to ask for it. Not because they don't struggle, not because they don't feel overwhelmed, but because somewhere along the way, they learned that needing help feels dangerous. So instead of reaching out, they stay quiet. And from the outside, they often look strong, responsible, independent, calm under pressure. The kind of person everyone depends on. But what most people don't see is how exhausted they are behind that image. Because hyper-independence is not always confidence. Sometimes it's a survival response. Psychologists often describe it as a coping mechanism developed through emotional conditioning. A person learns early that vulnerability leads to disappointment, rejection, criticism, or emotional neglect. So the brain adapts. Handle it yourself. Don't depend on anyone. Don't become a burden. And after enough repetition, self-reliance stops being a choice. It becomes identity. These are the people who say, "I'm fine," automatically, even when they're drowning internally. The people who help everyone else, but feel uncomfortable receiving help themselves. Because deep down, asking for support feels unfamiliar, sometimes even shameful. They may want comfort. They may desperately need reassurance, but instead of expressing it directly, they minimize their pain. They convince themselves they can carry everything alone. And over time, that emotional suppression becomes normal. That's the dangerous part. When someone suppresses emotions long enough, they stop recognizing how overwhelmed they actually are. Stress becomes routine. Emotional exhaustion becomes personality. And because they appear capable, people rarely check on them deeply. That creates a painful cycle. The more reliable they seem, the less support they receive. And the less support they receive, the more they convince themselves they must handle life alone. So even when they're struggling, they hesitate. Not because they don't trust people completely, but because trusting people emotionally feels risky. Many of them grew up learning that emotional needs were inconvenient. Maybe they were ignored when upset. Maybe they were forced to grow up fast. Maybe they learned that showing emotion only made things worse. So they adapted by becoming emotionally self-sufficient. But self-sufficiency has a hidden cost. Because humans were never meant to carry everything alone. Eventually, the pressure builds. And when nobody notices the weight they've been carrying, they grow quieter, more distant, more emotionally unavailable. Not because they don't care, because they're tired. Tired of always being strong. Tired of always holding everything together. Tired of feeling like they have to survive emotionally by themselves. And ironically, these are often the people others admire most. The dependable ones, the mature ones, the strong ones. But strength can become a mask. A person can look emotionally stable while silently falling apart. That's why some of the people who smile the most struggle in silence the longest, because they don't know how to let others carry them too. And sometimes, they don't even realize they deserve support. The hardest habit to break is believing your pain only matters if you can handle it alone. But healing usually begins the moment someone realizes this. Needing help does not make you weak. It makes you human. And the strongest people are not the ones who never struggle. They're the ones who eventually learn they don't have to survive everything alone.